sheets of talks, but the output of this talk would be something very little, and in many cases would be very contradicting. It will give you like maybe half a dozen of contradicting points, يعني متناقضات. بمجرد ان هو يعني ينتهي من الامر، يعني هيقول شيء في البدايه ويناقض نفسه في الحديث في خلال الكلام حتى يصل الى النهايه. And this is I really have a feeling that in general, we're talking about the general layer of people nowadays. It is a very common problem that we do not have the ability to run a logical discourse. I'm not talking about people who study in universities and in higher education. I'm talking about the average person. They usually lack the ability to run a discourse with someone else, and they are consistent in what they are saying. You can see like a common thread running through the whole of the discourse. They are always like digressing from the main road. Okay? They do not tend to stick to the particular points that they are trying to tell others about. And this is very important for us when we are holding a discourse with non-Muslims. When you are trying to explain something to a non-Muslim, always remember that you focus on the point of the question. Do not let yourself sucked into side-tracked points that digress your arguments and presentation from the main thread of the talk. Otherwise, the person will get confused. You should give priority to what you're trying to present or argue for. Okay? So this is something that we needed to highlight here. As I said in the beginning, they were trying to replace an existing culture in Egypt with something new, something according to their own understanding, something more civilized, something more cultured. But they presume that the Egyptians will at the end thank them for this and will appreciate their efforts and will approve their work. But on what basis will they get this impression? Do they have at hand some of the local Egyptians who approved this, or who expressed their consent to the favor being done to them? This is what they, on one-handed discourse, could see in the value of their work, that we are doing the good, and the Egyptians approve this. The Egyptians that they meant would be like a handful of people who are fascinated with the colonial values and the colonial traditions. But on the average people, they were inclined more towards some notions like nationalism. And you know that in 1882, when the British military came to Egypt, they were opposed by the nationalist ideas of Arabi. If you have some, I'm sure that you have this piece of information that's still ablaze until the British occupation finally was forced to leave the country. The concept or the notion of nationalism was always there, because the Egyptians in no time were happy or showed any sort of approval to the existence of the British in their land. Right. لا المشهور فرنسي. مش فرنسي دول؟ عربي؟ مثالي لأن أنا كل سامعه فرنسي. عربي فرنسي. مش عايزين بس إن احنا نحرجهم يعني. عندهم مايك؟
أعتقد بصوت مصر أعتقد.
So, mainly speaking, there were two features that were governing the maybe the Oriental Western relationships at the time. On the one hand, we have a huge tradition of academic research that were growing in Europe to understand and explore the Orient and to see its secrets and to explain them back to their own people. And on the other hand, we had also a position where the people in the West felt supreme to others, especially to people in Egypt here. And this kind of supremacy gave them a feeling of power because they knew the local Egyptians, and hence they could see the rationale of their existence in this country. And one of the interesting points that I could see as well here, it is about the colonial project. When there is a kind of an encounter between two colonial powers, and here the example would be for the French and the British occupation, and you know that according to the statistics here, from 1815 to 1914. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, Brother Arwa? Missed you last week.
Yes, I was not available. Sorry.
All right, that's fine. Right. From 1815 to 1914, the colonial control or domination of the Orient expanded from 35% of the countries on the surface of the world to 85%. 85% of the whole world fell under the control and domination of the colonial powers of Britain and France. And sorry? Europe in general, yes, that's right. So when, as the author here says, when there was like an encounter between two colonial powers, there were also three options, three choices here at hand to do. Either to renounce the country for the sake of the other colonial power, or to dominate the country, and this would give or would make rise for some kind of potential war or potential military confrontation between you and the other power, or to share like the booty, ghanima, between these two powers. So in many cases you will have a kind of a spirit of